Colson Whitehead has been a critically acclaimed author since his 1999 debut novel, The Intuitionist, about a crime-solving elevator inspector. Since then, Whitehead has published 5 more books, won a MacArthur Fellowship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, and the National Book Award, and made it to the final rounds of the Pulitzer Prize, the National Book Critics Circle, and the Faulkner Award for Fiction. His groundbreaking new novel, The Underground Railroad, a New York Times bestseller, a selection of Oprah's Book Club 2.0, and one of President Barack Obama's 5 summer vacation reading list books, appears on most critics' lists of the best books of 2016. On this edition of Great Conversations, Whitehead discusses his evolving writing process, his historical and literary influences, and the Underground Railroad with author and editor of BuzzFeed Books, Isaac Fitzgerald. This is Great Conversations, Colson Whitehead and Isaac Fitzgerald, recorded before a live audience at the University of Louisville, Kentucky Author Forum.
Young man, how's it going?
How are you, sir?
All right.
Feeling very official.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation here at the University of Louisville for the Kentucky Authors Forum.
Yes, thanks for having me, and thanks for all you nice folks for coming out.
Yeah.
I usually spend Monday nights at home weeping over my regrets. This is a nice change of pace. Take a shower, get out of the house.
And I just found out that this is kind of a cool thing for you. One, this is the last event that you're doing on the hardcover Underground Railroad tour.
Yes, they planned a big tour. They sort of had good vibes about the book and sent me out to 30 cities, which is like the biggest tour I've ever done. So a lot of travel, and today's the end. And tomorrow I retreat into my hermit house and won't emerge till Groundhog Day. I'm gonna look around, see what's shaking.
Much like a groundhog.
Yes.
But this was also one of the first places you spoke at.
Yeah, well, my book, The Intuitionist, came out in '99, and I didn't really know what you do as an author. You go to bookstores and sign books, and then I got a call from Paul Greiner at the university, and he was like, "We'd love to have you, come talk to a class and do a reading." And so this is my first gig was coming to the university here as a published author. And I was like, "Oh, you get to do this?" And
So let's give it up for University of Louisville.
Yes.
All right. So I want to start by talking a bit just about your background and how you kind of came to be the wonderful writer who's all those accolades we just heard. But you grew up in New York, and I was wondering a bit if you could talk to kind of how New York has shaped your writing. You are very much, it seems like it feels very much like a New York writer. Zone 1, I feel like, was just this beautiful, it was an incredible zombie novel, but it was also so much about your memories and history of New York. So if you could talk a little bit about the ways in which that's influenced you, and also if you'd ever consider going to other places.
Sure. Well, I grew up in New York City, Manhattan, and I did around 97 think, oh, let's see if I can live somewhere else. I went to San Francisco for a year and a half where you lived. And after 6 months, I was like, I got to go back home. I'm sad. Let's try another year, but then came back. Luckily, because of work, I get to travel a lot and maybe do a visiting gig here, teaching, or a residency. So I do see a bit more of the country than just New York. But I love the city, and it sustains me, and it's one of the things I like to write about. From book to book, I write about race or history or pop culture and the city, and New York is in some of my books. The Intuitionist takes place in an alternative Gotham. It's sort of a New York City out of detective novels, taking place in the vague 20th century. The Zone 1, which you mentioned, is sort of like my utopian New York. It takes place after the apocalypse. Everyone's dead, so no one's going to bother you. There's no one's going to compete for a cab because there are no cabs. Everyone's dead except for you. Some books I get to address my great love, New York, if it's appropriate. With the Underground Railroad, actually, there's a character named Ridgway who's a slave catcher, and I couldn't really figure out who he was until I read Eric Foner's book about the Underground Railroad in New York City. And I figured, if I put him in New York for 2 pages, that'll be the key to him. So I finally figured out who he was by making him a New Yorker for part of his life.